Okay, this is going to be the first in a recurring theme of food-wine pairing from my winery friends. This one is from Carlson Vineyards. Carlson's a winery out in Palisade. Garrett and Cailin run the place. I suspect this recipe is Cailin's, but I haven't confirmed that. This is the recipe as it appeared on Facebook. So according to the recipe, you need zucchinis, olive oil, and salt. I also saw this as an excuse to break out the mandolin to get very thinly sliced chips. And you see sweet potatoes there because I had the bright idea of doing something with sweet potatoes. Also, we'll talk about that more later. The paper towels are to help with the drying. So my mandolin comes with a thin slice, medium slice, and thick slice. So we're going to try thin first, because the recipe calls for thin sliced, and we're giving this a go, and I'm being very careful not to put my hands near there. This looks like about the right thickness, so when I start getting close to the point where my hands are getting too close to the blade, I'm going to get the little hodad that you're supposed to hold things with, and finish this up. And at the end of it, I'm pretty happy with my slice thickness, and I'm ready to prepare. So the recipe calls for low temperature for a long time, which leads me to believe we're using the oven as a dehydrator. So what I'm going to do is place these in the same pattern that they're going to go on my baking sheet, so I know how many it is, and then I'm going to wrap them up in a paper towel, and I'm going to stick them in the fridge for a bit, and that's going to help dehydrate them some before they ever get to the oven. No point in throwing these away. I'm going to drop them in the bowl and throw them in the fridge, and that way I can use them later as chips or put them in a salad. Some video evidence that I really did try to do something with sweet potatoes, but it was an epic fail. Alright, so I figured while my zucchinis are drying, I'll make a quick dip. Dips are either flavored sour cream or flavored mayonnaise for the most part. Those are called aiolis. I like the sour cream ones better. So this is sour cream, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, dill, and a little bit of salt. So not rocket science here. Gonna grind some pepper into my little Pyrex bowl. When that's done, I'm gonna dump in maybe a teaspoon of garlic powder, probably about a teaspoon of onion powder, and yeah, that goes in. Maybe 2, maybe 3 teaspoons of dill, and then in goes the sour cream. And you can see I'm not doing a lot of complicated measuring here. It's just how much fits in the bowl. So that's maybe 3 tablespoons. And then I'm going to chop up this green onion really fine. So I'm going to cut it in little tiny pieces, and then I'm going to go after it some more with the knife to make it so it integrates in the dip pretty well. So I'm going to incorporate everything here, give it a happy stir, put the lid that goes with my bowl, and off to the fridge. So time to lay out the zucchinis on some parchment, spray that with some cooking spray, and then paint them with a little bit of olive oil. Then hit them with some sea salt, and it'll be time to go off to the oven. Again, as the recipe says, 225 for an hour, so we're basically using the oven like a dehydrator. So these bad boys saw 225 in convection mode for an hour. Browned up, crisped up pretty nicely. And I was really happy with the outcome. That sea salt added some texture and a lot of good salty flavor. So clearly, if I was doing this for a party, I would want to use multiple sheets and do it in my big oven, not my tabletop. But this was a nice little snack for Rose and I, and it gets better. So full confession, I'm a dry wine guy, but Garrett swore that with a salty snack like this, I was going to want to go off dry. So this is the Laughing Cat Gewürztraminer, a little sweeter than what I would normally go for, but that's what we're going to pair with these chips. Break out my Wine for Normal People cork puller, which is my favorite cork puller, and we're going to pair this up and see how it goes. Happy photographer of wine and food and wine glasses, because that's what this episode is about, and I have to admit it turned out pretty well. Alright, so I'm going to jump in here and I'm going to try a chip, and it is a salty snack, and then I'm going to try this wonderful Gewürztraminer, and Garrett is 100% right. You're going to want a little extra sweetness in the wine to go with the salty snack. So lesson learned for me, dry is not always the answer. One final bit of proof to show that I did actually do something with the sweet potatoes. This was the result. They tasted burnt. I did 300 degrees for an hour, and it was just way too much heat. So I'm going to have to revisit the sweet potato problem. So those of you that know me know that I've turned into quite the wine nerd in the last couple of years, and this is a difficult time for independent wineries like Carlson Vineyards. Their tasting rooms are closed, their restaurant channels are not performing for them. So if you have the opportunity to pick up something like that Gewürztraminer, I recommend doing so. You can order from these guys, they'll ship to your house. And this ended up being a great way to try their product. I invite you to do it.